As a kid, all a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from everybody. Life lesson learned, I better learn from this bitch, nobody. She pushed me around, she didn't give no motherfucks about it. She broke my heart 3 times, but I ain't getting...
What is up, everybody? It's JT Sports. I'm back to you guys with another video. This video, we have my good friend Quincy Bell Sports on today to help us break down the Chicago Bears versus New Orleans Saints matchup this weekend, which is going to be a very pivotal matchup for both these two teams, man. The Chicago Bears lose. They dropped their, 5-3 on the season, right?
5-2.
5-2. And Detroit is right on your tails, man. Detroit has a very favorable November schedule coming up. They play Indianapolis. Then they got to play a couple of cakewalks like Minnesota, Houston. So, I mean, this is a really big game for Chicago in terms of positional seeding in the playoffs. What did you say?
Yeah, Detroit, when the Bears went down by 17 to them, I was about ready to start tanking for Justin Fields. But it turns out they were not the team we originally thought they were. They are playing a lot better than expected. They would be in a much worse spot if Todd Gurley knew to not score. Same thing happened to Penn State. Don't know what he's doing. But the Lions are definitely creeping up on everyone. The Packers don't look like they're going to be losing any more games anytime soon. And the aforementioned Saints, Rams, and Cardinals are all hot on our tails in the wild card race. This is as close to a must-win game as you can get.
Yeah, so you look at the New Orleans Saints, man. The New Orleans Saints have had their – I want to say they had struggles on offense, but it just – I look at Drew Brees. And I look at Drew Brees as a guy who he's just doing enough to make it by. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely would say. I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying. Some people are talking about how this guy can't throw more than 5 yards. That's just unequivocally not true. A big question about this game is whether or not Michael Thomas is going to play. Hasn't played since week 1. He's listed as questionable for the game. It sounds like it's about 50-50. I'm guessing he's not going to play, if I had to assume.
So when you look at the Saints, and your offense has struggled, and the Saints defense hasn't particularly been all that great. As a matter of fact, I will say that their defense has been pretty disappointing. I think that in terms of the biggest disappointments, they have to be right in front of Seattle. Seattle has to be the biggest disappointment when it comes to defense, because I thought Seattle was going to have a top 10 defense. Their defense has been the worst defense in NFL history throughout the first couple of weeks of the NFL season. And New Orleans defense hasn't really been all that great neither. Like, I expected a lot out of the New Orleans Saints coming into the season, and they got carved up by Justin Herbert a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football. So will the Bears offense finally be able to get going against New Orleans Saints defense that isn't really all that great? I say it's pretty average at best. What do you think about that?
All right, so everyone knows the Bears' offensive struggles. They can't score at all. Scored 3 points on offense against the Rams. Only touchdown was a defensive touchdown by Eddie Jackson. I'll talk about him later. But, man, people are saying, was Trubisky the problem, is what everyone's been saying. I don't know. The offense has looked pretty much the same with Nick Foles. I'll tell you, what's really been hurting is having Tariq Cohen out. He brings a lot of speed and electricity to the offense that we've really been lacking. Man, I just think the main problem with the offense is going to sound odd. The offensive line is giving Foles no time to throw, and whenever they hand the ball to Montgomery, it's like he's running into a wall every time, and he manages to get like 3 yards every play. I think this might be one of the most wasted running back talents in the entire league. Their offense has just been absolutely pitiful. But the Saints defense, they have not really been great. The Saints defense has not been great in their own right. Got carved up by the Raiders, the Packers, the Lions. They haven't allowed a game. They haven't had a game where they've allowed less than 20 points, and they have allowed 2 such games actually, where they've given up 30-plus points. So, and the Bears have looked pretty decent against poor defenses like Atlanta, like Detroit, and Carolina. They've looked decent against teams with poor defenses like that. So I don't really know what to expect. It's like you're flipping a coin every day with the Bears offense. Are they going to show up or are they not?
This reminds me when I was a Steelers fan. Well, I'm still am a Steelers fan, and the Steelers had Doug Hodges and Mason Rudolph at quarterback, And it's like, you might as well, every time the offense came on, you might as well go ahead and skip the channel to another game because you knew when they came back, they wasn't going to do anything on the offense. It's like you came back.
That's pretty much how I feel right now.
And when you look at the Bears in this game, for the Bears to win the majority of their games, you have to be at least +2 or +3 in the turnover margin. That's really the only way you can help out this Bears offense. And even then, last week, even then, the Bears defense played good. Even when the Bears were able to get turnovers, unless the Bears are actually being able to put points on the board defensively, it really is kind of a disadvantage to the offense because the offense really hasn't really been all that great. So, I mean, what do you think the Bears will be able to do in this game against New Orleans? Do you think they will have more success running the football against the Saints, or will they have more success throwing the ball against the Saints?
I think they're going to have to throw the ball because with this pitiful offensive line, you can't run the ball. Their wide receivers are better than a lot of people, I think, would otherwise believe. You know, Robinson's obviously really good. Anthony Miller, and especially fifth-round pick out of Tulane, Darnell Mooney.
Yeah. He was wide open against Jalen Ramsey. He was wide open against Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
He went viral.
I cooked him. Cooked him off the route, and Foles overthrows him.
Yeah.
And he overthrew him. So I think they're going to have to pass the ball, but the offense can help out a defense so much by staying on the field. It was basically the Rams game was Johnny Hekker punting it inside the 10-yard line, and then the Bears forced it, and then it was his 50-yard line punt. It was just, there's another half of the field? I didn't know that. So I think the offense is going to have to sustain drives. I think controlling the clock is going to be – I think it's going to be a big thing. You mentioned that we have to be +2 or 3 in the turnover margin. That's definitely doable. You know what you're getting with the Bears defense. The only problem that I would maybe see is if Michael Thomas plays, DJ Moore carved up Jalen Johnson like a Thanksgiving turkey the other game. He was getting wide open on every single play. So if Thomas plays, that concerns me a little bit. But they have the safety help over the top with Tashawn Gibson, who's been playing phenomenal this year, and Eddie Jackson, who's been playing probably equally as good. I like the game. I like that the game's at home. I do like that a lot. It's getting very cold in Chicago area. It was about 27 today. So I'm going to say that could play a factor. They have really they've done a great job of containing very good running backs. Like Mike Davis, who was, I break so many tackles. I'm Mike Davis. I think he broke like 1 tackle against the Bears. They've really done a great job of holding up the run in the past. The main thing and the number one thing for the Bears, they need to capitalize on opportunities when given them. They had 2 trips inside the red zone against LA, didn't convert on either one of them. Foles threw an interception, and then they were down by like 18, so they had to go for it. And they throw a screen to Patterson on 4th and 2. I don't know. It's going to be short passes that are going to win this game.
Most that on both sides, because when you look at the Saints is an offense that has been heavily criticized, not just this season, but over the last couple of years. Like I believe, like last season, a lot of people criticized the Saints for not really taking a lot of shots down the field. I think they are like one of the worst teams in the NFL when it comes to having passing plays go for more than like 20+ yards or something like that. So I think
they're very much a dink and dunk team.
Exactly, and it's nothing wrong with that. You know, you got to do what you got to do to win. But I mean, for the Bears,
that's what the Bears are going to have to do to win.
Yeah, and my question is for the Bears, when Nick Foles was at his best with Philadelphia used a lot of RPOs. Matt Nagy's supposed to be this offensive-minded guru, and why isn't he trying to execute some of these similar tactics? Like Philadelphia, like RPOs was how they utilized Nick Foles. That's where he was at his best. Why can't Matt Nagy think of that? Can the Bears just not do it?
They have the potential to do it. I think Cordero Patterson is an offensive weapon that could be used more in those types of situations. It's just the space game for the RPO. It's not there with the offensive line that we have. It's just the time for decision making. It's not there. Charles Leno is a revolving door and got murdered by Aaron Donald yesterday or on Monday. It's just, the time's not there. I think they need to draft an offensive lineman in the draft so just direly. They need one. They're in dire straits of a game-changing offensive lineman. It's a shame that we traded our first-round pick from last year because the draft was stacked at tackle and offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So that's just the main thing that the Bears are going to need. So that's mainly why slants and out routes and short passes are going to end up winning this game.
So on the defense side of football, how good do you think the Chicago Bears defense is going to do against the Saints? Because the defense has been pretty much the only reason why the Bears are at the point of the season that they are right now for winning record, because they've been carried by the defense. And you look at the teams like the Saints that likes to get the ball out really quickly. And I think that could be a little bit of a problem for Chicago's defense with guys like Khalil Mack, because they won't have a lot of time to get at on Drew Brees. Basically, it's like Drew Brees snaps the ball. By the time Khalil Mack gets in the backfield, the ball's already been long gone. So do you think Chicago's defense could still hold the Saints to less than 20 points offensively?
I think they can. They held the Buccaneers to less than 20 points offensively, so I think they definitely can do it again against the Saints. This is no ordinary defensive line, though. Their pass rush, I think, might be the best in football. Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, they're up. I know you're a Steelers fan, and you're not liking that statement. But they're up there. They're definitely up there. Akeem Hicks, I'm telling you, has been great. Problem with Akeem Hicks, though, is he needs to cut down on the penalties. Penalties have been a bit of a problem for him. So I think he's going to need to cut those down a little bit. But overall, I think with that great of a defense, you can hold any team to less than 20 points. And when you hold any team to less than 20 points, you're going to always be in a position to win the game. That's why building a team around a defense is so good, because if you only build your team around an offense, then when you face a good defense, they're going to shut you down, and then your defense can't stop a nosebleed. That becomes a problem. That's why Oklahoma will never win the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm. And even the thing with Chicago, like when I was a Steelers fan, I don't keep saying when I was.
You still are a Steelers fan.
Yeah. Last year when I was watching the Steelers play, like they were winning games because the defense was forcing turnovers. And even though the offense was terrible, one thing that the offense didn't do in the games that we won was turn the football over. And you look at Chicago, and the majority of the games they lost this season, they've turned the football over. So for me, I have to take the Saints to win this game. And the reason why I'm taking the Saints to win this game is simply for the fact that I don't trust this offense to do anything. Like, even though the Saints defense hasn't looked great, I mean, this Bears offense is more than capable of making a below average or average defense look elite. So, and I don't really trust Nick Foles to take care of the football, because the difference between Nick Foles and Trubisky was supposed to be the fact that Nick Foles was supposed to be better at reading defenses, finding open wide receivers, more accurate, better at taking care of the football, and I haven't really seen it. And I know the offensive line hasn't been great, and the same thing, you can make the same excuse for Mr. Trubisky. The offensive line wasn't great. The offensive line wasn't all that great last year, but I mean, Nick Foles was supposed to be this upgrade from Trubisky, and I don't really see that big of a difference. So I'm going to take the Saints to win this one, 21-14. And that may be a stretch of me just giving the Bears 14 points, but I think it is reasonable that they could break off a couple of big plays. Maybe they have some help in the special teams game. But overall, I think the Saints right now, even though I don't really have a lot of confidence in the Saints, I believe if the playoffs were to start right now, the Saints would be a one-and-done team, because I just don't really trust them really. But I mean, in terms of beating the Bears, I think their defense can keep them around. But in the fourth quarter, when they really need to be able to score some points, I just don't think they're going to be able to do so. So give me Saints 24-14.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned the special teams game, because last year when the Bears played the Saints, my main man Cordero Patterson returned a punt, 105 yards for a touchdown. He takes the ball out of the end zone every time. He can be 9 yards deep. He will take it out every time, and I don't blame him. He will almost always get to the 25-yard line. He is going to make a big play more often than he gets shut down behind the 15, let's say. And the big play will come. They had so many chances for big plays against the Rams where it was just it was right there and they could never get it done. I don't have any confidence in the Saints defense. The Saints defense is really disappointed the entire year. The Bears just need to hit on just one of those game-changing offensive plays. And that's why they're called game-changing offensive plays, because they change the game. This is going to sound like a homer pick. I'm going to take the Bears 21-13. I think they shut down the I think they shut down the dink and dunk passing game I think they shut down the dink and dunk passing game from Breeze. I think they're number one or two in the NFL in red zone TD percentage. When they get backed up into the end zone, they will not break. And they've really gotten it done against weaker defenses, and I think they can get it done again. And the main reason I'm picking them is it's at home. I know the Bears are one of the teams that are not allowing any fans because Illinois is they're terrible when it comes to protecting coronavirus. They've got their cases they're skyrocketing. Still, though, you always have an advantage when you're on the home field and they play in a dome. They can't play outside. I'm going to use that to sort of an extent, and I'm taking the Bears.
All right, everybody. Quincy Bell Sports. Quincy Bell's choosing the Chicago Bears to win. I'm taking the Saints. Quincy, before we let you go, man, first I want to tell you thanks for coming on. Let the people know where they can check you out.
You can search my YouTube channel at Quincy Bell Sports. I'm pretty sure you're probably going to link it in the description too. So just search Quincy Bell Sports. I do NFL picks, college picks, MLB stuff. That's over now because of the World Series. But I do stuff on all sports. I'm gonna probably start doing power rankings, and I know that's gonna ruffle a lot of feathers. Mm-hmm. And before I leave, I gotta say I need to issue you an apology for picking your Steelers to go 8-8 and picking against them almost every week.
Try to tell everybody.
And picking against them almost every week.
Big Ben is washed. Big Ben's throwing dimes to Chase Claypool, James Washington. Now, he didn't look all so great in the second half against Tennessee. Hopefully that disappears. But try to tell everybody.
And people are mad at me. I'm telling you, if they win this week against Baltimore, because I did pick Baltimore, I am not picking against them for the entire rest of the season if they beat Baltimore. I can promise that to you.
I think at best, Pittsburgh splits with Baltimore this year. I just think Baltimore should be able to get things. If Pittsburgh sweeps Baltimore, give them the trophy already. Because Pittsburgh is really good against Kansas City in the playoffs, especially on the road in Kansas City. I think we have one of the best records actually at Arrowhead, other than, the Kansas City Chiefs themselves. So Pittsburgh, they can get it done against Kansas City. They've done it in the past. So, hey, man. But Quincy, man, I appreciate you for coming on, man. Thank you for your time. Everybody, make sure that you guys go ahead and check out Quincy Bell Sports. And take care, man.